working on a large Stuart model steam plant part 16, testing the southward pump using compressed air. Since I rebuilt the water chest part of the pump, it's been sat in my kitchen and I'm keen to see whether the water valves are still functional. And it seems like there's a bit of a problem. The pump's trying to work, but it's just hovering about the midpoint. Very odd. Then I realised I hadn't opened the water valve from the water tower to the pump. So the pump is acting as a vacuum pump. That's a good sign that the pistons are okay in the water chest itself, because it's sucking air, remember. When I open the tap at the bottom of the water tower, water will come rushing into the pump and hopefully it will work properly. I've now done that, and this is the water bypass valve that I'm opening. And the minute that I do that, the whole thing springs into action. The pump clatters at first because it's sucking air. Then the water meets the pump, and this is what it does. If any viewers suddenly feel the need to go to the toilet, I do apologise. Please pause the video and resume the viewing when you return. It would appear that rebuilding the water chest has been successful. Look how the pump's working nice and evenly, and it's pumping water as you've just seen. There's 50 pounds per square inch of compressed air inside the boiler. So it's time to close the bypass valve and see how quickly the water climbs up the water gauge. As I tighten the valve to shut off the water, the pump starts to behave rather oddly. The pistons are still moving back and forth, but very slowly indeed. Have a look at this. This is the water gauge. Normally, with a double-acting southward pump on a boiler of this size, it would shoot up to the top, but it's not doing it. It's going up very slowly. But looking on the bright side, at least the pump is filling the boiler against 50 pounds per square inch, which it never did before. In fact, previously, with the silicone rubber all over the place inside the pump, it struggled to even pump water back through the return valve. But now, as you've just seen, when the water bypass valve is open, there's a virtual torrent of water comes out of the pipe. More than enough for my action man to have a shower, and possibly big enough for a hobbit to have a shower. Anyway, that's enough shower talk. I've partially opened the water valve to let some water back to the tank, and the pump's starting to move again, but the water stopped moving up the sight glass. A bit of a mystery is if I put my finger over the end of the water outlet into the tank, there's plenty of pressure, and the pump sort of works okay, but it's slowing up far too much. What I'm a little bit concerned about is the usage that this pump got once I sold it to the customer for whom I built the steam plant and incorporated it into the steam plant. My customer has two very small boys, so he didn't really run it much on steam, hence the very convenient compressed air inlet on the top of the boiler. The only problem with compressed air running a steam plant that was designed to run on steam is lubrication of the cylinders. The water cylinder lubrication is fine. That's done by the water that courses through the pump. But the steam cylinder end of the pump will probably be quite worn by now because it's been run dry. When I went inside the valve chest, I never mentioned it because I didn't want lots of letters from people telling me how to do it, but I did notice that the port face was a little bit scored. But the water side of things is perfect. When I fill the tank right up to the top, this is actually pumping water from the tank and back to it. No air leaks. At first it looked like there was a bit of an air leak, but no, it's a perfect closed loop. When I close the water bypass valve, which I've done here, the pump doesn't work at all. It doesn't matter how much I open the steam inlet valve, or in this case compressed air, the pump is struggling to push the water into the boiler against 50 pounds per square inch or less in the boiler itself. I did suspect the size of the hole in the valve, so I'm going to bypass that. I'm taking off the rubber tubing. And just for the record, because some viewers have commented, I'm not going to use this rubber tubing when I finish the plant. And the reason for this is so I can quickly remove the silicone rubber tubing from the tap at the base of the water tower and put the pipe straight into the water bottle. I wanted to use this silicone rubber tubing because the internal bore of it is greater than the internal bore of a piece of 3/16 pipe. With the tube into the main water bottle, the same thing happens. The water is taken from the bottle and pumped back to the tank, but the minute I close the water bypass valve, the pump runs very slowly. More about this in a future episode when I dismantle the steam end of the pump and have a look at what the problem is and fix it. And while I'm at it, I will show you exactly how these pumps work. They are not simple, and they're very clever indeed. It's a brilliant design, quite unlike any girlfriends that I've ever had. Now for something completely different. Here is a box full of 4x40 things. Some of them are these elbows. PM Research elbows that are 4x40 but never fit any 4x40 stuff that I have. I buy them from a company in England called Forest Classics. I'm going to speak to Phil at Forest Classics about this problem. He informs me that no, they are not the tapered version, these are the parallel 4x40 threaded version. And here's one held in a large Barco spanner. I find it easier for rethreading them to clamp them in this small bench vise. And here, as you can see, this is not a simple job. This tap is taking some winding into this thread, and it's removing metal. So what is going on? By the feel of the tap in the work, it isn't a tapered thread, and it's not the wrong thread. Well, it may be. I think the pitch is slightly out. It's no big deal rethreading them. It's quite therapeutic. I'm using a plug tap, and as you can see, it's cutting a very small amount of metal, but I'm having to put more pressure on than I would like to. Unusually for PM Research elbows, this one was a bit rough. There was some casting sprue left. So it's a simple job. Put it back in the machine vise, use a needle file and remove it. I need these elbows to make a modification to the exhaust piping to the chimney. It would appear I have a problem. I cannot find my pipe benders. During the move into the new workshop, I've misplaced them. I'm waiting for Amazon to deliver me a couple of new pipe benders. I only need a pipe bender to bend the pipe initially as it leaves the condenser. Then the rest of the exhaust piping is going to be threaded into these elbows. But that's it for now. Without a pipe bender I can't do this job. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website. Click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you will find it very easy to find other videos that you may like to watch.